Today I'm going to walk you through how to set up a linksys wireless router with your own network name and password and make a few other changes that'll make you more secure. So for starters, we're going to select the router, which that would be the network name that's on that sticker on the back or bottom of your router. In my case, I don't want it to connect automatically, but you could leave that checked for simplicity. And that is the password that was on the sticker. It's not very secure, since there are no special characters and not even any uppercase letters in it. But let's press enter, verify and connect and secure. Alright, now we're going to use an IP address to get to our router. In this case, it's going to be 192.168.1.1. That other number, as you can see in my list, is for some devices that I happen to use here at home. I'm going to press enter. Sometimes the router password is password. But let's see. In the case of linksys routers, the password is admin. Again, not very secure. But we're going to get started with things here. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is, first off, let's go under guest access. We want to make sure that this is here, and more importantly, that it is turned off, because we don't want others using it. But for now, what I'm going to do is call this sample guest network. And for this one here, because this router has different network names for both the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz, those are just network speeds. They really won't impact most people. I'm going to give this one a name as well. Alright, and for the password here, I'm going to call it welcome, but I'm going to change the O to a 0. That way we've got some uppercase, some lowercase letters here, as well as a number. Doesn't have to be real specific, but just something that will be there. Alright, it's applying changes to the router. I don't want my little program here to save it. The action performed may cause the device to temporarily lose connectivity. Okay, that's fine with me. This is normal when you make changes on a router. Now it's trying to say we're not connected, which we're not because the router is rebooting. So let's come down to the list here. This is the downside of telling it to not connect automatically. I can tell it to connect and it will remember my password. Alright. Alright. Next thing we want to do is go to connectivity. They all have a different way to say it, but in this case, I'm going to rename that sample home network. And as I did before, I'm going to keep it quite simple here, assuming I can type. and keep the 5 gigahertz at the end. I'm also going to keep it simple and use the same or a similar password as I did before. And in this case, we'll call it welcome home instead of welcome. That way we have a different password for our guests. Notice I didn't put any spaces in my password. I don't want to put any in there because sometimes that will cause problems. The same way that I'm not going to leave spaces in my network name. I'm going to replace those spaces with what are called underscores. Basically, that's if you hold the shift key and press the same button as you would to make a dash, like in a phone number, that will give you the underscore in there. And sometimes it won't matter, but other times it could cause problems. Now we're going to wind up with the same message here in a minute. It says you're updating your network settings. Okay, I can do that. Now it's going to say that it's applying changes. And just like before, it's going to tell us that it's not connected to the router here in a minute. Even if we had selected connect automatically, we would have that problem. Because the password that it has isn't right anymore. So there's our sample home network, 5 gigahertz. I don't really want that one. I want this one. And again, I'm going to tell it not to connect automatically. And as we remember, we used a password that was a little easier to remember and a little more secure. Now this should reconnect for me. All right. Now, in this case, on the same page, there is where you can edit your password. This is where I am going to use my little tool up here, because this isn't a password you'll need on an everyday basis. So I'm going to come up here, and this has a long and complicated password for me. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard and come down to Notepad. I'm going to paste it in there, and later on, I'll save it into a special file. For right now, we're going to come here, we're going to click Edit. As we remember, our default password was admin, not very secure. I'm going to paste in the password that I created to get in here. And I'm going to hit, before I hit apply actually, I notice that my time zone is wrong. Not a big deal, but that way it knows where it is and what time it is. Let's hit apply. Are you sure you want to change it? Well, yes, I am. And I don't want this to save anything. Just another little tool that I use. Now, next thing I want to do is hit sign out. Because I want to make sure that that password updated. All I did was paste that in. And now we're in. This router doesn't happen to give you an area for a username, so you can't really change that. If you wanted to set up smart Wi-Fi and an account with linksys, you would have all of your routers in there and you could have it even more secure. But for right now, that's as far as we really need to go. So we've gone in and we changed our network name, our guest network name, and the passwords for those. You'll notice that in my list here, we don't see that linksys and the series of numbers anymore. That's because it doesn't exist. It's been changed to the network that we have here, Sample Home Network. Hopefully this has been a fun and informative project for people. We've gone in, we changed our guest network name, We made sure it's off. That's for security reasons. It's one less way for someone to get in. We have changed the password for it. We also changed our network names so that they're not the generic ones that linksys gave us, which are probably reused over and over again. And we changed the password on those to something a little easier for us to remember and probably a little more secure since, again, those passwords are probably reused over and over again. Thank you for watching this, and I hope you found it informative.